Alright, so for example 3, you're going to do the same thing, something very similar to what you did in example 2. However, you need to draw a couple of triangles, and you have to find your sine of your u plus v, because we have a plus sign, so it's got to be u plus v. So that means that you're going to have a triangle for u, which would be your arctangent of 1, and you're going to have a triangle for v, which would be your arccosine of x. So this, for your arctangent of 1, that's a 1 over 1, and for your arccosine of x, it's an x over 1. So we're going to have to remember your arctangent is positive in your first quadrant. So your arctangent is only defined in your first or your fourth, but it's positive in your first quadrant. So we're going to draw a triangle in your first quadrant, which we'll call this u, since u is going to be your arctangent. So your first triangle is right here, and there's your angle u. I'm going to draw this a little bigger. So for this triangle, you have one side is 1, the other side is 1 also. So in order to find out what your hypotenuse is, you just take 1 squared plus 1 squared equals your hypotenuse squared, or 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 equals c squared, c will equal radical 2. So your hypotenuse is radical 2. Now you're also going to have a triangle for v. So here's our v. So for v, your arccosine of x over 1. Arccosine is defined in 1 and 2, and it's positive in quadrant 1. So for triangle v, we're going to draw a triangle in quadrant 1 again. So your adjacent side is x, your hypotenuse is 1. In order to find out what your vertical side is, you just have to do your Pythagorean theorem. It ends up becoming 1 minus x, or the square root of 1 minus x squared. So now that we're going to try to find out what our sine of u plus v is, we have our two triangles drawn. We just need to figure out our formula for the sine of u plus v. That is the sine of u times the cosine of v plus sine of v cosine of u. So let's plug these values in. Your sine of u. Well, your sine of u, that's your green triangle, sine is going to be a opposite over hypotenuse. We have a 1 over radical 2. Your cosine of v is your pink triangle. Cosine is x over a 1. So there's your cosine of v. Plus, let's find our sine of v. So the sine of v, that's your pink triangle, that is radical 1 minus x squared over 1. And then your cosine of u, that's your green triangle. Your cosine is a 1 over radical 2. That's your adjacent over your hypotenuse. So if we try to clean this up a little bit, whoops, click that thing. Try to clean this up a little bit. This will become an x over radical 2 plus radical 1 minus x squared over radical 2. So that we have the same denominator. So we're just going to write our final answer as x plus radical 1 minus x squared all over radical 2. And that is how you can find an algebraic expression, not necessarily a numerical expression like we found in example 2. That's how you can find an algebraic expression for a given sine of u plus v.